to dance. So this display is basically the dances of my childhood. We're in the period 1950 to 1954. My earliest recollection of dances is at the woolshed at Walhallow Station, a very large local sheep station. I particularly remember from the woolshed the dances, the Canadian three-step, the gypsy tap and the mazurka. So gentlemen, take your partners for some dances from the Walhallow woolshed sometime in the late 1940s. In 1950, I went to school. It was a one-room, one-teacher school in a small village called Karuna on the banks of the Mokai River. There were about 20 kids, aged from 5 to 15. And since my mother had married the boy from the farm next door, I was related to more than half the kids in the school. With so few pupils, and with a wide range of ages, we could not play team games. We simply couldn't put together two opposing teams for cricket or football. But we could play tennis and we could dance. So at the Karuna school, we did a lot of dancing as a substitute for organised sport. I remember particularly our school version of the Virginia Reel, which the team will now show you. You have to imagine that they are all 8 years old and they're dancing at a bush school. background is mainly Irish, and it is a very large Irish-Australian family. Among other things, I have 15 aunts and uncles, and I have 24 first cousins. They all lived in the district, and they all danced, so our family parties were enormous. At these parties, we sometimes did the odd Irish dance. One I remember was a simple four-hand jig, as my mother would say, jag. But we are not going to show that to you, because my family also loved waltzing, and over time, the original Irish four-hand jig evolved into a waltz for two couples. We called it Wicklow, after the original O'Neill colonial home in Maitland, New South Wales. So here it is, it's the Wicklow, an Irish four-hand jig that in the early 1950s evolved into a New South Wales waltz. Autumn was the least pressured time of the farming year. The wheat crop was in and up, the threat of bushfires had eased, last spring's lambs and calves were growing well, the wool check was in, and it was time to party. So autumn was the season for the tennis tournaments, the village cricket matches, the annual shows, and in our area, the annual picnic races. Following these events, there was always a dance in the evening. After all, if people have travelled a fair way for a sporting event, they might as well stay for a convivial social evening. The team members are getting spruced up for the picnic races. At the dance after the races, they will do the St Bernard's Waltz, a shot each, and the Pride of Erin. In the early 1950s, there was a boom in square dancing. This was in part due to the presence during the war years of a large number of American servicemen in northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. Even our local town, a small place called Werris Creek, about the same size as Braidwood, had an active square dance group from the middle 1940s to the middle 1950s. I'm going to show you a square dance that we call the Itinerant. I learned it for a school demonstration at Werris Creek Central School about 1953. It used to have the usual square dance calls, but they got lost along the way somewhere. So I will, however, be giving the team a few reminders. So here is the Itinerant, a relic of the square dance boom of the early 1950s. Tops away. Yee-haw! Sides away. Yee-haw! Empty top and bottom lines. Crossing straight into sidelines. Back to original places. 480s chain. Home the tops go home. Grand chain law. When first tops get home, promenade beside the set. Others follow. As the promenade grows, the grand chain collapses. You start to get excited. Yee-haw! Sidelines this time. Straight into top and bottom lines. Home to original places. 480s chain. Home the sides go home. Grand chain. When the sides meet, they start to promenade inside. Others keep following. The grand chain collapses. Yee-haw! Well done. Hats off. American-style quadrilles were not the only square dances in our repertoire. Australians have been dancing quadrilles since the mid-19th century, and for many decades they have dominated Australian dance programs. By the 1950s, however, there were only 3 of the old quadrilles left, and these were the first set, the Lancers, and the Waltz Cotillion. So here for your enjoyment is part of my mother's version of the Waltz Cotillion, Liverpool Plains version. Top ladies. Side ladies. Top men. Side men. To the centre while tops walks home. Tops to the centre while the sides walk home. We're in top and bottom lines. Crossover. cut it down. We're up to our final dance. This is from one of the highlights of the annual dance calendar. This is the debutante ball. Making your debut was a very significant social event. In our area, there were always 2 local deb balls, both held in September, when the final year students, normally away at boarding school, were home for the last school holidays before they finished school. Here is one of the dances from the standard debutante ball program. It is the Merry Widow Waltz. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the debutantes of 1953. Thank you for watching, folks. I hope you've enjoyed visiting, or maybe for the older folk, revisiting the dances from my childhood in the early 1950s in northwestern New South Wales. And thank you.